Welcome back, everybody. This is Pucks from the Pine Tree Pod. I'm your host, Benjamin Kennedy. Happy Friday evening to everybody out there. We made it through another week, so yay us. So hope everybody had a good wrap up to the week. A lot of hockey to talk about coming from the week prior, and so much hockey to talk about for this coming weekend. Uh, for me, this weekend, I had my little boy for the next few days, so looking forward to that time of year, right? We're getting closer to the holiday season, so big to do for us this weekend is to get all the Christmas decorations out, start hanging the lights up, and I'm really hoping that once I get his Christmas lights up in his room, that maybe he'll start sleeping in his room. Been a little bit of a fight lately trying to get him into his own bed. So, any parents out there with little ones know exactly what I'm talking about. Can't say I fought him a lot on it. They're only little for so long. Try to enjoy it and embrace it. But yeah, sometimes daddy likes to get some sleep at night. But anyway, should be a fun weekend. Well, let's dive right in. We're going to start by talking about the Maine Nordiques and the week they had going back to 11-8. They had a 6-3 win over the Elmira Aviators. They followed that up on the ninth with another win, 8-3. So a combination there, 14-6. So very successful couple of games there against Elmira. They did lose on the 13th down at Danbury against the Hat Tricks 3-2. So over the last three, 2-1, not awful. For the boys this weekend, they do have a couple games at the Northeast Generals on the 16th. The puck drop there at 7 p.m. at the Canton Ice House. And again on the 17th against Northeast at 6:35 for a puck drop there. I've been talking about this team a little bit as the season's going on. Still right there at the top of the Eastern Division of that North American Hockey League, 13-5-1-1. I would definitely encourage people to go check them out. Fun place to go watch a game, and they're quite entertaining. So, uh, good on the boys. Hope they can keep that momentum going themselves. Go up to Orno. What's going on with our Black Bears? Tough weekend. A very kind of nationally highlighted weekend for Maine as they were down there at Chestnut Hill to play Boston College on Friday and Sunday afternoon, losing both games, unfortunately, as we know. I would say a little bit more competitive that Friday night game where they lost 3-2. Going to Sunday, they do get shut out 3-0. Didn't watch a lot of the Friday night game. Did watch some of it on Sunday, and you can just look at it. That BC is probably just a half a step better right now than this Black Bears team. They're younger, they're faster, and I know that's something Ben Barr talked about leading in is that hey, if we're going to beat these guys, we can't get into racing up and down the ice. We got to play a kind of a more grounded, more physical style. And I do like the fact they hung in. They didn't get blown out of the water. It wasn't like an 8-2 or 8-3 type of weekend for them. Um, and yes, I know after that Friday game, there was a lot of rumblings on social media about officiating and how BC get all the calls and this and that. And yeah, a little bit I looked at it. They were probably getting more of those 50-50 calls going the Eagles' way. But it's also sometimes those calls go to the more aggressive team or the team that's playing a little quicker, a little faster. You see that in all levels of hockey. Um, so tough one. It would have been great to have gotten that Friday night game, at least get a split. But at the same time, I think they showed all right, despite the fact they didn't win a game. Um, and they only fell a couple of spots in the standings. I'd say nationally they are seventh. They dropped from fifth. So even though they lost the two, it didn't drop very far. Coming up this weekend, though, they do have a couple games up at the Alphon Arena against the BU Terriers. So another really full, exciting weekend of NCAA hockey. Big time, big boy hockey. Tonight at 7 p.m., so coming right up here, they are going to be dropping the puck against the Terriers, following that up with the tomorrow night back at the Alphon against the Terriers, another 7 p.m. puck drop there. So that should be a rocking house. It's a great place to see a game. If you're lucky enough to get tickets, I would say go check them out. As we said, they are number 7 in the nation right now, 6-2-1, and the BU Terriers are 5-4-0, and they are sitting number 11 in the nation. They did drop from number 9 from a week ago. So these ones are important, especially losing the 2 to BC. You'd love to get both of these. You have to get a split here to not drop too much further in those rankings. But these should be really exciting games, and I'll be curious to see how they go for the boys. The UMaine women last weekend, losing both games, also playing BC up in Orono, but they lost on the 8th 3-1, and then on the 9th losing again 5-1. So rough stretch for the Lady Black Bears. Coming up for this weekend, they are at Northeastern tonight, a 6 p.m. puck drop, so coming right up. And tomorrow they have a 1:30 matinee puck drop down there in the city. So it'd be great to see them get a split, get a couple wins here, get the traction going. To date, they are 2-10 overall, 2-6 in Hockey East. They're in 8th place, tied with Holy Cross and Merrimack. So, yeah, let's see what they can do. It'd be great again to get a couple of wins, get up to 4-6 in Hockey East. You start to build a little bit. You can't do anything about the past, so we'll see how it goes for them. To this date, I haven't talked much about NCAA Division III hockey, but anybody who is up here in Maine knows that D3 hockey is pretty competitive here. You get actually some really good hockey out of the schools that have the program, and the seasons are underway for most teams. University of Southern Maine, they have actually played 3 games already, and they are 1-2 to start. They play, and this is funny. I looked at the schedules for both teams. It wasn't listed on the USM schedule, but on the Bates College schedule, there is a game listed for tomorrow, USM at Bates up in Lewiston. So that game, apparently, according to the Bates schedule, their website, it's on there. So again, USM 1-2 so far. Got that game up at Bates tomorrow. Bowdoin College opening their season tonight. They're up at Middlebury, so they'll get their season going. That's another really nice building to watch a game if you ever are up there in the Brunswick area. The Bowdoin College barn is a great one. I was able to go to the Mariners preseason game up there this year. I would say definitely a lovely place to go check out some good college hockey. Bates College, as I just mentioned, they're 3 games into their season as well. They're also 1-2, of course, having that game tomorrow night at home versus USM. And then Colby also opening their season tonight. They are at Williams College. I'll be curious to see how those boys do. UNE, University of New England, off to a 3-0 start. And they also play tonight. I believe they're home versus Endicott. And then Thomas College, looking at their schedule, 5-3-0 already. So they've played a few games. Playing tomorrow versus UMass Amherst. So a lot of college hockey going on there. I will do my best to try to give it some coverage as time allows. It's a lot going on. It's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. Going now to the high school hockey scene. Of course, practices are underway for most schools. Don't have a whole lot to talk about here, but I am hoping to give the high school hockey scene some coverage this season. I've reached out to a couple of the local writers, and my hope is to have some of these guys on throughout the season to talk about these programs, talk about what's going on throughout the state. It's a fun brand of hockey to follow here as well, and it'd be great to give these programs and these young men some love. So we're again trying to develop something here with some of the people that really follow the high school hockey scene, and hopefully more to come there. Of course, I live here in the Greeley school market, and Greeley, they do open their season on the 23rd versus Messalonskee. So that'll be one to watch out for any Cumberland North Yarmouth folks. Turning the page now to the Maine Mariners. One exciting game last time out there Wednesday night. I was fortunate enough to be there in the media booth, but winning 3-2 in overtime versus Reading, scoring, of course, 7 seconds to go in the game to tie it up. Smaller crowd, but it was loud after that. It felt like it was a full house. So that was a very, very funny game and really good to answer. As I said in my post game video a couple days ago, I thought it was a game of um, like a character building type of game, I guess I would say, for the team. A game of responses for the team where they, got down, battled back, got down again, battled back, and also just responding from what was kind of a lackluster performance at Worcester on the ninth, where they did lose 5-1. So really good to see the boys get that one. You could see and feel their excitement after the game too, the celebration, and you could even hear them, down the locker room. They were excited, and so good to see them getting that one. Of course, 4-5 on the season right now. That's a lot better than 3-6. But if you want to know more about that game, I did do a post game video on that. My previous video to this one. They are up in Quebec for tonight. Just a one game against the Lions. That puck is dropping at 7 p.m. So you can go check that out on Flow Hockey. You'll also, I believe, be able to hear Michael Keeley's call. If you just want to listen to it, you go to the marinersofmaine.com website, and there should be a link to listen to that. Later this weekend, they come back home for tomorrow against South Carolina, 6 p.m. puck drop there, and a Sunday matinee, 3 p.m. once again against South Carolina. So currently sitting seventh in the division, so they are at the bottom right now, 4-5-0-0 on the season. Goals for 21 versus 28, so they have a little work to do to catch up there. But you do like after that 1-4 start, they're starting to build a little bit. 3-1 since then. If my math is correct, I'm not great at math, but I believe that's 3-1 since that 1-4 start. And yeah, so they're going in the right direction. Some notes just for tonight's game. Of course, Brooklyn Kalmakoff did return not long ago. He's up to 5 points, 3 goals and 2 assists over these last 3 games. So he's really such an important piece to this team offensively and what they're going to try to do this year. And we're starting the season without him, so he's absolutely making an impact. Exactly what we were hoping for. Despite the goals for and goals against, the Mariners have outshot their opponents in 7 of the 9 games. So there's been a little bit of maybe bad puck luck or just some frustration with overall execution, but there's been no problems with this team getting shots. And you just know that the balance of probability, if you keep doing these things, keep getting those shots, being creative, and also getting your offense healthy, and they are not healthy all the way right now, things are going to go right. The balance of probabilities is that you're going to start landing some of those shots. One thing to be mindful of for tonight is the Lions. They are great on the power play so far this season at 30.4%. They're 7 for 23. So this would be a great game to stay out of the penalty box. Don't give them a lot of odd man chances there. Play a clean game. Keep them away from those power plays. That would be I think, a big focus for the boys tonight. Now, they do have some games in hand, right? When we talk about being in 7th place, it's still so early. Only playing the 9 games to date. And you look at a team like Reading, who we just played, they've already played 13 games. And Maine has 3 wins on them. So, sometimes these standings can look a little funny where there's just not a lot of even play so far in terms of games played for these teams in this division. You got to talk about the special teams when it comes to the Mariners. So far on the power play, 3 for 34. Yeah, if you do the math, that's 8.8%. Last in the division, and I didn't actually look, but I think they're probably really close to last in the ECHL on that stat. Tough one. Hard to live in this league if you're going to be 3 for 34, 8.8% on the PP. Like we just said, shot generation's been there. Most of these power plays are getting shots. It's just executing and getting some of these to go in. That has to improve. That has to get better. Something to watch for. The PK, not as bad, but I still would say there's probably some improvements here the team would like to see. They're right now at 77.8%. They've killed 21 out of 27. Right now, they are 5th in the division on that number. So yeah, I would like to see them more in the top 2 or 3 in that category, and I think they get some work to do, but, I think improving, and that's a good sign. Don't have a whole lot on the injury updates. Of course, Owen Peterson, last check, was on the 3-day IR. I guess we'll have to wait and see tonight if he's able to get back out there. Of course, Carter Johnson did not finish the game on Wednesday. Uh, Brutal hit, uh, that he received from Connor. And I have not seen any suspension news on Connor there for Reading. I kind of fully expected that there could be some discipline, but I haven't seen anything yet. So did ask about updates. I haven't seen any updates from anyone yet. Again, we may have to wait till this evening. And of course, Christian Sarlo. We're still waiting for him to make his season debut. Last I heard, there is a possibility he plays sometime this weekend, and it would be great to see him out there. And given some of these injuries, we may absolutely need him. So be watching for more post game updates with the Mariners as we go through the weekend. I'll make another comment on that here later. Oh, let's turn the page to the Boston Bruins. Anybody who stayed up and watched that game last night, it was an 8 o'clock drop in Dallas. Were treated to some pretty horrible hockey. If you're a Bruins fan, you're a Dallas fan, you loved it. Great, right? 7-2 loss for the Boston Bruins. And yeah, a little bit of controversy with some of the officiating last night, but end of the day, the officiating had nothing to do with this loss for the Bruins. This is all on Boston. Um, they just looked like they were waiting around for the next bad thing to happen. That's how they've looked a lot this year, and they looked that way last night. They just continue to look disjointed. They don't look like they're on the same page. And obviously, the power play just looks so obvious, so easy for teams to shut down. Right now, their power play, you want to think the Mariners' power play is bad. They're ranked 32nd, meaning the Bruins. They're 32nd in the league on the power play at 11.4%. Let that sink in for a minute. 11.4%. The PK is not much better. It's 74.3%, 26th in the league. So when you think about it, for you longtime Bruins fans, when was the last time you saw those sorts of numbers for specialty teams out of a Boston Bruins team? It's been a while. They've usually been a very good special teams uh, performer, and this year it's just god awful, god awful. And they've got to get it corrected. They just have to get it corrected. Of course, last night, big news: the Jamie Benn hit on Carlo. I just think an awful call from the officials on this one. First and foremost, Brandon Carlo, we know history of head injuries, history of concussions, and we see that boarding call, I mean, just charging or boarding, whatever you want to call it. And they called it a major up front, and they went and reviewed it and took it down to a 2-minute minor. I don't know how you justify that if you're the officials. I do not know. I'd love to hear an explanation from the NHL on this. Very dangerous play, and absolutely the type of play the league has been trying to get out of the game for a long time. Jamie Benn knows this. He's a veteran of this league, and pretty shameful hit. He had the chance to stop. He had the chance to change his, uh, direction on that play. If you watch back, and yes, Carlo is slowing up a little bit when you watch the play, so he's bracing to not hit the boards, and maybe that's what the officials saw and gave Ben a pass on that, but I don't buy it. Carlo has the right to slow down right there a little bit to brace himself. Ben does not have the right just to charge through him and batter him into the boards. That could have been so much worse last night. Could have been so much worse. Thankfully, Carlo was able to finish the game, but it was brutal. It was brutal. Again, would love to hear from the officials, would love to hear from the NHL as to why that was dulled down to a 2-minute minor, not a 5-minute major. And quite frankly, 10-minute game misconduct, I mean, that wouldn't have been out of the realm of possibility either, in my opinion. Luckily, Carlo's okay. And truth be told, this power play is so bad, you could give them a 5-minute major, 5-minute power play. I'm not sure if Boston was doing anything with that last night. A little less controversial, but before that, you had the penalty shot. The call against Lori that looked like either a slash or a hook. Again, they gave him the penalty shot. A little curious about that call as well. I could definitely see a minor, 2-minute minor on that one. Lori definitely got a stick in there, but the player was never in there alone for Dallas. It wasn't like Lori skated up and took him out of the play. They were right there together the whole time. And yeah, Lori has the stick infraction. I've seen far greater stick infractions on that same play, given a 2-minute minor. So again, just a little curious how the officials justified that one there. Like I said earlier on, though, neither of these calls really had much to do with the end result. Um, this defensive effort for Boston is just so non-aggressive right now. It's non-attacking. I would just dare to say it's a very reactionary type of defense, not what you're used to seeing historically with Boston Bruin teams. Yes, you're down Andrew Peak, you're down Hampus Lindholm, but there's just no justification for playing this kind of defense. Not at all. Needs to get better, needs to get tighter. You went out and spent money to get bigger, to get stronger, and just to be a more aggressive, hard to play against team. And right now, I'm sorry, you're just not that. Obviously, we got to talk a little bit Jeremy Swayman here. This isn't all on him, but man, the numbers are not good for him right now. I don't have them in front of me, but I saw his numbers last night before the game, and you don't give up 7 goals, and those numbers aren't improving. So it's ugly. It's just ugly right now. And yes, while it's not all on him, I think he would admit he needs to be sharper out there. We could have probably used a couple extra saves out of him last night. Just the optics are not great. The optics are not great. Given again, everybody's going to go back to his holdout and it's payday and all that kind of stuff. And he missed time in camp. Um, but he's also not the reason why this team is struggling so bad. The team in front of him has not been very good, as we just talked about the defense uh, and just the overall team play. The defense from the forwards hasn't been great either. So, uh, end of the day, everybody has to play better, and that's obviously including Jeremy Swayman. Just before I went on, I did see on Twitter X Jimmy Murphy at Murphy's Lost 74. Um, he says that the NHL Bruins are scheduled to fly home from Dallas today with no practice scheduled. There's no Super Bowl parade today, but I wonder if the classic Friday dinner time news dump is coming. So he's obviously speculating about Coach Jim Montgomery. This has been talked about now for a couple of weeks. Is Coach in trouble? We know he's on, an expiring contract, has not been extended to this point. I don't know. I just don't know. Is it too early to do this? I've talked on this channel about how overreactionary NHL teams can be with coaches. That so often they pull the trigger on this way too quickly. And the Boston Bruins tend not to do that historically. They don't give up on coaches too quick. This one though, I'm starting to wonder. There's definitely been some smoke around this. And just hearing Coach in some of these press conferences, you can hear it in his voice too. I think he's starting to feel it. He's running out of answers. He's, I think, employed the things he can do to try to get this team going, and it's not going. So I think he knows that his voice isn't landing in the dressing room like it used to. They're not reacting to him like they used to. And that usually tells you that a change is potentially coming. I've liked Jim Montgomery since he's been here. Obviously, he's a UMaine guy, UMaine legend, and I really hope he can figure this out, get this team up and running, and keep his job and hopefully get extended. I would like to see that, but that just may not happen. So we'll have to wait and see. If for whatever reason, here they do move on from coach, leave those comments down below. Who would you like to see the Boston Bruins go out and get as the next head coach? A couple of big names out there, guys. Joel Quenneville, Stanley Cup winning coach. Tom McClellan, a former Kings coach, one of my favorites. He's out there not working. So there's definitely some viable NHL coaching options to look at. But yeah, if Monty has to go, who are we bringing in to replace him? Leave those comments down below. Despite the play, and the up and down nature of this team, they are still sitting somehow third in the division, 8-2. It doesn't feel that way. It doesn't look that way on the ice. We're so used to this team getting out to these great starts. Um, are we just getting the bad streaks out all at once and this is going to settle down and find some rhythm? I certainly think we hope so, but just some of these numbers don't look good. Some of the metrics don't look good. So yeah, you're 8-2, but we've already seen, where they are with their power play, with their PK. Those numbers are not great. And it follows it. There's some more alarming numbers. Right now, you're at a minus 16 in your goal differential, 45 goals for, 61 goals against. Second worst differential in the division, second only to Montreal. You can't live like that for long. Minus 16, yeah, you're sitting third, but you'll be sitting fifth or sixth really quick if you don't get this figured out. They have played the most games in the division, and they're sitting seventh in goals scored overall. So that 45 goals scored, despite playing 18 games, uh, they're pretty low on that list. Detroit's the only one behind them at 37 goals, but they've only played 15 games. So take it for what it is. These numbers are not great. So what we have coming up here for the Bruins, they have a 1 p.m. matinee back at the TD Garden tomorrow. Puck drop at 1 p.m. That's followed by a Monday night game at the Garden versus the Columbus Blue Jackets, 7 p.m. puck drop there. 21st, looks like November 21st, sorry, versus Utah. Again, 7 p.m. puck drop. And then they're on the road on the 23rd at Detroit, 7 p.m. there as well. Winnable games, sure. These are winnable games on the schedule. You look a little beyond that. There's some more games. I think Pittsburgh's on there. They're struggling a little bit. I think you got Montreal on there coming up. So definitely some winnable games on the horizon. You got to take advantage of them. You got to start putting some wins together. You got to start putting periods together. I mean, even last night, pretty decent, despite the bad calls. You were in that game after the first period, but they just struggle to put 20 minutes plus 20 minutes plus 20 minutes together. You got to start building that way and then putting games together. And right now, they haven't had a good stretch of 2, 3, or 4 games in a row where you really felt like, oh, they're getting it figured out. They got it going. You're not seeing that right now. This is a stretch in the schedule where you may have an opportunity to do that. Take advantage of it. So coming up here on the podcast, of course, we do have 3 Maine Mariner games over the weekend. I'm unsure if I'll be able to do a post-game podcast after each one, as I have been. I really enjoy doing those. Do have my little guy here at the house this weekend, so sometimes I can get a little touch and go with my time and my availability. But certainly going to try to put out post-game reaction videos for each of those games if I can. Regardless, I will have a Maine Mariners podcast coming up Monday night to wrap up the weekend and talk about all the things that happened for our Maine Mariners throughout the weekend. And a little bit ahead next week, I am flying out to Denver, Colorado for a work trip. So I'm not sure how much activity I'll have here on the channel. I will have my camera with me, so maybe some late night quick videos if I can, but kind of unsure there as well. So that's what we have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Please enjoy all the hockey that's coming up this weekend. And of course, if you do like what you're hearing, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below. Definitely appreciate it here. I'm very happy to see some growth here on my channel. So until next time, be kind, show love, and God bless.